Just 3 more weekends to go in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, and they start right here at Donington. The 2.5-mile Grand Prix circuit in use this weekend before we go to the shorter Silverstone National Circuit and the Brands Hatch Grand Prix track to round out the season. It is a battle between Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton as far as the championship lead is concerned. Tom Ingram comes here as the lap record holder, a circuit 2.5 miles in length that opened in 1985 with the Grand Prix loop added and first hosted the British Touring Car Championship a season later. Qualifying coming up, and it is Tom Ingram, of course, eager, like the rest, for another point for that pole position. He's ahead of Ash Sutton. There's a battle on for third between the Dans, Camish ahead of Rowbottom. Jake Hill, fifth, after bouncing back at Knock Hill with that double victory. Adam Morgan is sixth. Tom Chilton is seventh. And Charles Rainford is eighth. And, of course, he has been one of the leading lights this year in the Jack Sears Trophy. Now, the weather is on the change. It's been really nice and hot and bright and sunny for much of the morning. Now it's got all blustery. It's just started to rain as well, and it means that the flights coming into the neighbouring East Midlands Airport are finding it just a little more blustery than perhaps had been anticipated. So how much the weather is going to affect this qualifying session remains to be seen. It might just be a very brief sprinkling of rain. It could come to something rather more serious. Different weather apps are saying all sorts of different things about what the weather may have in store for us. But that qualifying session is going to get underway shortly. And as ever, we're going to have that quick 6 format. Q1, therefore, split into the 2 groups. As ever, it's about not being slow and trying to make it through to that rather busier Q2. And then the final quick 6 to determine the first 3 rows of the grid in the final part of qualifying. Much talk in the paddock this morning about who might have soft tyres, carryover tyres that you can use in this qualifying session. But if the rain comes, then that makes it all redundant, and it's going to be about wet tyres. But I don't think we've got to that stage yet. Group 1 for the first part of qualifying may have the advantage, therefore, of a drier circuit. We're about to find out. Before, though, we get into qualifying, let's just catch up with a driver or two. Dexter Patterson and Jake Hill earlier on in the day spoke with Tim Harvey and Louise Goodman as they had their traditional walk up the pit lane.
Well, we thought we would start our little Donington walk with the man of the moment from our last race weekend at Knock Hill. Finally, got that smile back on your face. It's been missing for most of the year, but you were beaming last time in Scotland, weren't you?
It's nice to be happy again, Lou. You know, I mean, it was. I just love going to Knock Hill. I love that track. I love the people. Love the Scottish fans. Love driving that BMW around there, and it was just a real joy. You know, we went back there obviously after missing Croft due to illness, and yeah, we absolutely lit it up and got 2 wins. So very, very happy.
You've always clicked with the track, and the car's always run well at the track as well. Of course, that's been and gone in the past now, and that's been the problem this year. The car's great at some circuits, not good at others. So how are we looking here?
I think we've made big improvements over the winter. You know, I mean, obviously I wasn't at Croft to get on those improvements straight away, but as you can tell, you know, the car is stronger. The boys did a good job at Croft. I obviously had an absolute blinder at Knock Hill, and you know, so far so good. The car feels really nice here at Donington Park. So yeah, I'm hoping for another strongish result. Do I think it's going to be as good as Knock Hill? Probably not. I think just a mixture of the car around there, I love it there. We just really gel, you know. So I don't know if it's going to be quite as good, but hopefully we can have a bit of a stronger end.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, a couple of different things this weekend, Jake. We've got the introduction of the free tyre rule in qualifying, so you can use whatever tyres you've managed to save up, so as many softs as possible, even though you can't race on them. And then for the racing, we've got the medium and the hard. Now, your car traditionally works well on the soft. How's that going to influence both qualifying and the racing with the other tyre options?
Yeah, well, I think quality is going to be interesting, Tim, because obviously it depends how many or who up and down the grid has saved, you know, some good softs, obviously, for this qualifying session and moving forward later in the year as well. Are some people going to use them here, or are they going to use them at Silverstone or Brands? It's going to be interesting to see. So we know what we've got, and that's cool. I'm happy with that. So we're going to go into qualifying pretty happy. But if it rains, which it's looking like it could do during the session possibly, then it's going to be anyone's.
Yeah, I mean, Donington traditionally has been a good circuit, but you've got 3 big traction zones. Presumably that means the boost is quite good as well. So you've got a little bit of extra boost to use.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously there's a couple of good climbs here, as you know, and the boost is really proving dividends around here. So, yeah, who knows what exactly we're going to have in qualifying, but fingers crossed it's something strong.
Okay, and I'm sorry your suit shrunk again, another race of shrunken suit, but good luck.
Thanks very much. It's really me. What's he trying to pot kettle?
Yeah, I know. I wish I'd been that weight when I was racing, trust me.
What do you think? What do you think the form book is going to be like? Because I think at the beginning of the season, it was the Ford was the car to have.
Yeah,
here,
you know, Ash Sutton on the short circuit,
Yeah.
national circuit, won 2 races
Yeah.
here and another podium. So the Ford was the car. But things have moved on.
Yeah.
The Hyundai now looks like the car of choice. We've seen Tom qualify at Alton Park by half a second with only 3 seconds of boost. People aren't betting against him putting it on pole here with only
Yeah.
1 second, despite the requirement for a lot of boost here. So I think the Hyundai is the pace-setting car. I'm sure the Napa cars and hopefully the BMWs will be up there as well. We need a bit of a mixture, don't we? Maybe that rain will do it for us.
Let's bring in a man. Dad, to come on in and join us, jumping in the middle here. And man, we haven't spoken to you for a little while, so it would be good to have a catch-up. How are you feeling? How are you feeling coming into this weekend? And how's your season been going so far? It's kind of been ups and downs, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think after the summer break, we made a decent step, just in consistency. Like we've shown a bit of speed here and there, but we just haven't been consistent. And especially in qualifying, I think we've always missed that little bit. Because in the race pace, we always seem to come back, but it's just the Saturday we miss out.
What can you do about that? I mean, presumably that's something you've all been working at very hard. What are you working on to try and get that together?
Yeah, I mean, I think we actually made a good step when we went to Croft, even though it maybe didn't show, but the balance of the car, we've always struggled with a little bit of understeer in it, and we managed to get it rotated around, and since then, with that direction we went with the car, has been a lot easier to deal with. So I think it's just following that and try just be a bit pernickety with it and get it fine line.
The dreaded understeer.
Yeah, Dexter, the requirement for the car here at Donington is quite different, isn't it? You've got the fast swoopy sections, then you've got the big traction and braking areas here. So actually finding the balance on the car is quite tough, and especially on the different types of tyre. How does the balance change on your qualifying setup from on the soft tyre to the race tyres, medium and hard?
Yeah, I mean, especially coming to GP here, it's a lot trickier because you go from a pretty fast track in the national to then a big stopping zone with the hairpins, so it's try to find the balance in between. But that's what I mean. We started on mediums in that practice session, then had a run in the soft at the end, and it's like a completely different car. Yeah, exactly. So, but then you still got the hard to run on Sunday, so. Yeah. Just try to be strategic when you run it.
Yeah, don't worry about the hard. Let's just leave it till the end and hope it rains. That's the plan that's worked before. But, I mean, on the softs, have you managed to save enough softs earlier in the year for your qualifying sessions now?
Yeah, we were looking at that yesterday, and we've managed to save a sort of a set to put aside, which is good. So hopefully in qualifying that helps. If we can get into Q2, then we should get a good set and a good run at it.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Nice to catch up with you.
Thank you.
And talking about qualifying, what are your...
Good luck, Dexter.
See you later. What are your thoughts? Because we are looking at potentially rain. That's going to be throw a real curveball in, or will it?
Yeah, no, I think it will. I mean, normally I wouldn't want it because I love to see qualifying when everyone's going absolutely at their maximum. The car's in its fastest setup on the soft tyres. The driver's giving it max, hopefully not losing too many laps with track limits. But the wet, it's an equaliser, and I think it could be exciting.
A couple of hours to go, so we will see what's happening when the cars hit the track later on.
Well, that was earlier on in the day. Now, we've had a few spots of rain, but I don't think it's amounting to very much. We might be able to get an update. It's certainly got a lot more blustery before this qualifying session gets underway. The fans are wrapped up, prepared for just about every eventuality. And the teams likewise, possibly thinking that they might need a banker lap, and other people might need to go and scamper after that umbrella as well. Thankfully, it doesn't get anywhere near the circuit. It is suggesting, looking out of the window, that it might not be raining too much, if at all. Well, let's find out. Louise is in the thick of it all.
No, there is rain coming down. Not a hell of a lot of it at the moment, but it is just beginning to come down. So I think you are going to see everybody getting out on track as quick as they can at the start of this session. As I say, there's not a lot at the moment, so it's not going to impact things as we stand. But I'm not quite sure which direction the weather is coming from, so it could well be we've got more rain following along behind us. I've just been having a bit of a stroll down to see who is on the soft tyre, and looking at these cars as they're going out now. You'll see Jake Hill there with the white wall on, so most of the cars as they're going past me here are on that white wall soft tyre, so let's see what they can do with it.
Excellent, thanks Louise. So the green flag is shown to get the first part of qualifying underway. A banker lap, potentially for many of them, just in case the weather worsens. In Group 1, remember, this is based on the order at the end of the second free practice session. Tom Chilton, Tom Ingram, Dan Lloyd, Chris Smiley, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Adam Morgan, Jake Hill, Aidan Moffat, Gordon Shedden, Josh Cook and Max Buxton are going to be within this group. And the cars making their way out on circuit. Josh Cook then returning to the championship, now part of Toyota Gazoo Racing UK. He steps in for James Dorlin. Josh is going to be in the car to the end of the season. And Aaron Taylor-Smith and Gordon Shedden's Corollas are going to run the Toka engine this weekend. The other cars are going to run the regular Toyota one, just really by way of compare and contrast and aid development and see what lessons can be learned in either direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Toyota stack up over the course of the weekend. In terms of boost for qualifying, it's based on championship position. It's seconds per lap, 1 second a lap for Tom Ingram, 3 for Ash Sutton, 5 for Dan Canish, 7 for Dan Rowbottom, 9 for Jake Hill. Looks pretty interesting. 11 Adam Morgan, 13 Tom Chilton, everybody else on the full 15 seconds. And just to illustrate the point again, it's the full Grand Prix circuit, which means that we have the S's and then this, the Melbourne hairpin, and then up towards Goddard's to round out the lap. Josh Cook down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Now, Tim, thoughts on who we're going to see?
Are the guys going to want to do it now as they're just getting going?
Up at the pointy end of the grid, come the end of this. What are we expecting with these weather conditions starting to change?
Well, let's just assume that it stays as it is for a little while. Everybody's going to be desperate to get a lap in straight away before conditions potentially deteriorate. Front-wheel drive cars already coming in the pits to change tyres. Of course, they have to diagonal their tyres. They have to do that to get warm tyres on the rear. So initially, a bit of an advantage for the BMWs if they can post a good lap time straight away, although it takes the BMWs a little bit longer to get their tyres up to temperature. But should it rain quickly, we'd be in trouble. Louise has already got a bit of reaction down the pit lane from James Dorlin.
Rain seems to be a bit better. Just to update you, the rain seems to be a bit better at the moment, so it seems to be holding off. But yeah, front-wheel drive cars have come in to switch their tyres around. But I thought perfect opportunity to grab a word with James Dorlin, who sadly isn't out in the car this weekend. Josh Cook has taken over in his car. But James, it's the decision. You were very much involved in that decision, weren't you?
Yeah, look, to be honest, for us, it's the right decision. You know, Croft and Knockhill, we were struggling with a few issues, and after the really good run from Thruxton and Alton being top 5, we was realising it wasn't where we wanted to be. You know, we're here to try and win, and it was a struggle financially as well. We've had a few difficulties with sponsors this year as well, but yeah, we've got a really good team of people, and we didn't want to jeopardise that by trying to force something that was proving very difficult at this moment in time. So disappointing to not be in the car, but at the same point we'll be back next season, and hopefully what we're doing now will put us in good stead for that.
You get to enjoy the action from the sidelines instead. Watch what's going on. No stress.
No stress, and especially in this weather. I think I've made the right decision. So yeah, like I say, I'm gutted, but at the same point, we've got a good team of people here, and it'll be interesting to see what Josh does as well. But it's all just building for next year and doing that with the right the right people involved. So yeah, really good, and see what it brings.
Good to see you here. Cheers.
And so Josh Cook picks up James Dorlin's carryover tyres to run through the weekend, and we are having early times done, of course, by BMWs because they've stayed out. We're almost at the halfway point of this first part of Q1. There is Aidan Moffat, who's done a notional target time of 1:37.6, but we had them in the 1:33s in free practice, and the pole lap of last year was from Josh Cook, a 1:33.4, so that's your target.
Yeah, of course, the cars can use the soft tyres. They're saved up soft tyres for this qualifying session, which is when the BMW comes alive. It loves the soft tyre. Probably in slightly warmer conditions than this. Might take 2 or 3 laps before they really reach their optimum, but it will be the fastest these BMWs go all weekend, as racing will all be on the medium and the hard tyre.
So Jake Hill then over the brow down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and you've also got Tom Ingram out on track, and Ingram is now starting to do absolute best in sectors. So into the second half then of this first part of qualifying, with Jake Hill making the run up towards Goddard's, runs out of boost for the lap, so he's used it relatively early. Ingram, of course, with just that 1 second, having to be really clever about where he uses it.
Yeah, very much so. On the uphill sections out the slow corners is when you want to use the boost. but the BMW's revelling in the extra traction they can get off these slow corners, and also running last year's mapping, engine mapping. They did a test at Snetterton a while back and found that last year's engine mapping was preferable for throttle control and linear power delivery off the slow corners. So they're back to running that now across the board on the car.
This is Adam Morgan looking rapid as he comes down then towards the S's. Gordon Shedden has had a lap time disallowed for, here we go, track limits. Not for the first time this year, Gordon and track limits not necessarily getting on. Tom Ingram, Adam Morgan's times reflected then on the graphic as we look at Morgan coming out of the Melbourne hairpin there now. It is Jake Hill from Aidan Moffat. The rest have yet to do a proper lap time. We're about to lose a lap for Max Buxton because this lap is going to be disallowed because of track limit offences as well. And with under 4 minutes on the clock and a 2.5 mile lap, you can't be throwing away laps like this.
It's quite a long lap time. I thought we had another Buxton in the mix here with Matt Buxton, but no, it is Max in the car. Yes, it is quite a long lap, so they won't get a lot of laps themselves. But Ingram it is that's quickest at the moment, as we see Chilton, who was quickest, caused a red flag in free practice, but then went quickest. So he's had an up and down meeting so far. Where does he go? He goes fastest on a 1:33.58.
And then up to second. No, indeed, he has the lap taken off him, so that's why it all changes. Track limits for Tom Chilton. So a good lap posted, and then it disappears. So it's Ingram the fastest then now. 1:33.665, 3/10 up on Jake Hill. And that means that this man, Tom Chilton, has got to do it all over again.
Well, he's done this before this year, hasn't he? He's been victim of track limits when he's been pushing the limit and then had to rein it in just a little bit. But of course, you lose the best of your tyres when you do that.
And Max Buxton, 2 laps in a row disallowed now.
Probably at the same place. Team will be jumping on the radio, hopefully being able to tell him where he's exceeding track limits, because it's monitored in at least 4 places with cameras and judges of fact.
Tom Ingram, in the meantime, 2 absolute bests in the sectors then. He's already the fastest. Remember, it's the fastest 6 that will go through. So at the moment, we're losing Shedden, Cook, Moffat, Chilton and Buxton. And here is Tom Ingram coming out of Goddard's then. Can he do 3 absolute bests? Yes, he can. The perfect lap as he goes by at a 1:32.939. But then the lap is disallowed because of track limits. He's still fastest, or is he? No, Adam Morgan now goes quicker still. So Ingram's perfect lap with 3 absolute bests in sectors is taken off him.
Yeah, and it's a teammate Morgan that now jumps to the top. Of course, oh no, he's lost his lap.
Yeah.
Morgan's lost his lap as well.
So it puts Ingram back to the top on his previous lap. So it's Ingram, Hill, Morgan. Chilton has now gone 4th. Taylor Smith has now gone 2nd. Ingram, Taylor Smith, Hill, Morgan, Chilton, and Shedden up to 4th. Shedden up to 3rd because Taylor Smith's lap disappears. Dan Lloyd has now gone 2nd. Why don't we just talk amongst ourselves and do the top 6 at the end when all the penalties have been applied?
Yeah, we might as well not bother talking and just wait till the end and see what the order is, because every time we get excited about a lap time, it gets deleted. So we're trying to keep this interesting for you, but it's very difficult with so many laps being disallowed.
Now you're looking at Dan Lloyd, who is absolutely on it. He's 3rd at the moment, which is essential to progress. Let's look at those that are outside the top 6. Chilton is out for the moment, so is Moffat, so is Taylor Smith, so is Cook, so is Buxton, and we've got a minute on the clock. So there are quite a few that need to dig deep.
Yeah, that was a beautiful shot of Dan Lloyd coming down the crane of curves. The whole car sliding, and he just manages to hook it up for the old hairpin. But that was a great shot of the car right on the limit.
Buxton still hasn't got a lap because he's now had another one taken off him. He has done 4 laps and all have been disallowed for track limit offences. Right, coming then now out of the S's. Aaron Taylor Smith pressing on, trying to get himself into that top 6, and he's rather concerned about squeezing 1 more lap out of the session here. Morgan's up to 3rd now.
Yeah, fascinating experiment being undertaken by the Toyota Gazoo Racing team with 2 different engine specs. The M Sport engine now in Gordon Shedden and Aaron Taylor Smith's car, and the Neil Brown engine that they've been using previously in the other 2 cars will give them a fantastic back-to-back of performance.
Chris Smiley, lap disallowed. He's down to 10th. Over the timing line then goes Aaron Taylor Smith, and he is 7th. 71 thousandths shy of his teammate Gordon Shedden. He does get another lap out of the session. The flag is out, and let's see then whether Taylor Smith, Moffat, Cook, Smiley or Buxton can break into the top 6. Big disappointment for Chris Smiley, certainly being way back in 10th in this. You're riding with Taylor Smith but Ingram, even with only 1 second per lap of boost, is the fastest.
Yeah, and as you said, that Smiley jumped up into that crucial top 6 position with his last lap. But yes, it just shows the pace that Hyundai's got with Ingram. And remember, that wasn't his actual fastest lap.
Max Buxton had his 5th lap taken off him. Every lap he did was lost to track limits. Aidan Moffat has had a lap taken off him. He goes down to 9th.
Well, at least he gets a prize for consistency, doesn't he, David?
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. We like consistent drivers. There's Aaron Taylor-Smith, who is 8th, and he might be an improver because he's yet to take the flag, and he has done 2 personal bests on this lap. So he is trying to get himself into the top 6. He's got to find about 2/10, give or take, to make sure he's in safely. So Chris Smiley's lap is a 33.952. He's got to do something better than that. That means he's got to jump over Gordon Shedden's time, and also then Chris Smiley. Adam Morgan's lap taken off him at the end of the session, but he's already 3rd, so he should be good. But this could be the lap that shuffles the order. Aaron Taylor-Smith comes out of Goddard's then up towards the timing line, and when he breaks the beam, we'll see whether he stays 8th or goes 6th. He goes 5th, he's in, and that dumps out Smiley.
Yeah, Smiley unfortunately pushed out by that lap, but a good under-pressure lap from Aaron Taylor-Smith.
So that's the car with the M-Sport Toka engine in it, and he is 5th. So out go Smiley, Shedden, Moffat, Cook and Buxton. And Tom Chilton ends up the fastest right at the very end, because on his last lap, Tom Chilton did a 1:33.522.
Yeah, and I know it didn't count, but Ingram's lap, the quickest lap we saw with the 3 purple sectors, was actually at 32.9, where you can say, well, he did that with using track limits, but it does give us an indication that there's more pace to come in the lap, isn't there?
Yeah.
So,
now it's all changed again,
yes,
because now that lap's been taken off Chilton.
He still gets through.
Yeah, but Taylor-Smith's lap's gone, so he doesn't. And Cook's lost a lap, and Shedden has lost a lap. So,
and Smiley does get through.
Exactly right.
Oh, what a change.
So we'll cross out the lap time of Tom Chilton, and we'll go back to Tom Ingram, 1:33.658. Ingram it is that's fastest. So, for the moment, until things change again, Ingram, Hill, Morgan, Lloyd, Chilton, Smiley is your top 6. I wouldn't write it down just yet, Tim. Long way to go, yeah. Long way to go. So there is Gordon Shedden making his way back to the pit lane. So Ingram's time is a 1:33.658. That is the target for those in 2. And those that will progress then are Ingram, Hill and Morgan to round out the top 3 from Group 1. Dan Lloyd, we're pleased with that. He's got some carryover tyres, of course, having missed a race or so this year. Chilton ends up 5th, despite being fastest at the very end. He lost that lap, and Chris Smiley ends up going back in, not off his own pace with respect, but other people having their laps disallowed.
Well, I actually don't know what everyone's quickest pace was, because we lost so many laps.
Keeps you guessing.
It certainly does. Makes our job very difficult indeed, but at the end of the result, we do have 6 going through.
They are Tom Ingram then by 47 thousandths, the fastest from Jake Hill, Adam Morgan 3rd, 4th Dan Lloyd, Tom Chilton 5th and Chris Smiley 6th. The 2 independents then from the Restart Racing squad. Out though go Gordon Shedden, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Aidan Moffat and Josh Cook and Max Buxton. So those are the times. No time at all for Max Buxton. Every lap disallowed for track limit offences. Good job his dad's not here. He's over at the Nürburgring, but I think Danny Buxton would be decidedly cross about that and would read Riot Act.
It was a bit of a waste of money, really, wasn't it? A bit of a waste of money, fuel and everything,
Tyres,
really.
Yeah. Hey-ho.
Group 2. Yeah.
Yes, and they're going to be so well behaved. This is going to be a walk in the park.
I bet it isn't. I would caution every announcement about quick laps with an extreme dose of caution. So here we've first sight of the Valvoline liveried Napa cars. 2 of the cars, which is Ash Sutton and Dan Camish in the Valvoline colours, but all 4 Napa cars out in this session.
And these are the drivers for Group 2. Ash Sutton, Charles Rainford, Dan Rowbottom, Dan Camish, Sam Osborne, Senna Proctor, Mikey Doble, Darryl DeLeon, Dexter Patterson, Nick Hamilton, Nick Halstead. And yeah, the Sutton and Camish cars in those Valvoline colours. Right, let's go to the pit lane. Luke.
Yeah, and I thought I'd grab a word with a driver who just sneaked in at the tail end of that session. Well done, you made it through.
Yeah, it was touch and go getting through at the end there. At the very start, there was a little bit of rain in the air. Probably didn't maximise the first lap enough, but yeah, Martin's just giving me a breakdown of the lap times. It's ever so close, so yeah. we're going through to Q2 now, so yeah, just need to focus again and yeah, focusing on extracting that lap time.
Well, what are your thoughts? What's your tactic then heading into the next session?
Well, qualifying, just go as fast as you can normally. You know, we're running the soft in qualifying today, so yeah, the car feels awesome on soft tyres, so yeah, it's down to me now to get a clean and tidy lap. Be careful of the track limits at the chicane. It's so easy to run over there, and sometimes, you know, coming down there at that speed, it's very easy to misjudge it slightly. So yeah, really looking forward to Q2 now.
Have a good one. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Louise. Chris Smiley then, talking about getting through into Q2, which he has now done for the 5th time this season, as we run on board with Sam Osborne. As Tim was saying, Dan Camish and Ash Sutton running in the Valvoline colours, and not only is it a nice livery, they're the only 2 cars with the sort of retro style of having a number on the door. Normally these days you just get the number on the window and you've got a full side livery, but the Valvoline liveried Fords have gone for the number on the door, which is a nice retro feel. Down the pit lane come the front wheel drive cars to do a tyre cross. Rear wheel drive will stay out, and the clock ticks on down. Over the line has just gone Darrell de Leon with 7 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. This replay of earlier on as cars were heading their way to the pit lane.
Doing practice starts. Well, I'd say practice starts. It's effectively a rolling burnout to try and get extra heat in those front tyres. They're going to be diagonally put on the rear, so it's just tyre warming, that is. But yeah, going back to that number panel thing, the Valvoline livery is a reflection back on the 1995 Ford Mondeo cars. I'm old enough to have raced against those, but I actually really like the number panel on the side. It looks great.
So there's Ash Sutton in one of them, heading back out on circuit. Remember, Ash has 3 seconds per lap of boost for this session, which is into its final 7 minutes of Q1 for Group 2. And the Ford accelerates out of Redgate, and he's managed to get pretty much clear track space here, hasn't he? Nobody really around him, so he has the road to himself as he heads downhill.
Ash, who of course was a double winner earlier this year on the national circuit, but a very different prospect racing on the full Grand Prix circuit with very heavy braking in 3 places and 3 big traction zones. So a very different car requirement. Obviously this part of the circuit exactly the same, but you're having to compromise your setup in this part of the circuit to gain maximum traction and rotation through the tighter corners.
So trying to generate some more warmth and pressure in the rubber. He comes up towards Coppice now, that double apex right, and then onto the straight down towards the S's, onto the Grand Prix section of the circuit, as over the timing line has just gone Darrell de Leon, a 1 minute 40.9, so a fairly gentle start-up lap. Charles Rainford's time isn't going to happen because he's headed into the pit lane. That's Mikey Doble. Of course, Power Max Racing still in the Cupras. Mikey Doble, another driver with lots of effectively carryover tyres, new tyres, therefore, because all the carryovers were burnt. So Goodyear had to effectively replace the stock the team had with fresh rubber.
Yeah, no choice about it. The Power Max team have been very busy since Knockhill. Both those cars have been fully stripped and rebuilt. As it's the only really way to understand and know the way the cars are put together. They might be the same components, but it's how you put together that can make a big difference to performance.
Sam Osborne coming then now down into the Melbourne hairpin. On the track behind it is Dexter Patterson, from whom we heard at the start of the programme, and there you've got the charging Darrell de Leon then coming down towards the S's. So he did a 1 minute 40.9 last time, which is a start-up lap. We're looking at a 33.6 or better, and his should be better in as much as he's got more boost than Ingram had.
Yeah, good deal more, but we saw just how quick Tom Ingram was. A lap in the 32s actually possible, which would be a lot quicker than our pole time from last year, over half a second, so huge amount better. Just back to Mikey Doble, of course, he qualified 3rd here on this circuit last year, so more than capable of putting in a good time.
Charles Rainford still in the pit lane, which is odd for a rear-wheel drive car with 4 minutes on the clock. You'd have anticipated he'd be out on track, but he's still shown as being in the pit lane, which makes one wonder whether there might be a problem. Over the line goes De Leon, and that's a 34.4 then, so he's notionally the quickest. And Aidan Moffat's BMW is there. Is Charles Rainford back out? Yes, he's just gone through the first sector, so Charles Rainford is thankfully back out on track. Now Sutton, personal best, absolute best, other way round for Rowbottom, absolute in the first, personal in the second sector. 4 minutes to go. This is going to get lively.
It's going to get lively. The track limits violation places where the cameras are. The exit of turn 1 Redgate, the exit of the old hairpin, the exit of McLean's and the S's.
This is Rowbottom then, coming out of the Melbourne hairpin, makes the climb up now towards Goddard's. And there over the timing line goes Ash Sutton, who goes fastest on a 1:33 lap time taken away. Senna Proctor goes fastest, 1:34.477, ahead of Darrell de Leon by 3 thousandths. Then Rowbottom goes quickest, 1:33.741. Camish up to second, half a second between them.
Yeah, so Rowbottom, Camish, Proctor, de Leon, Sutton at the moment.
And Sutton's got to do it all over again then, because he had that lap taken off him with the track limit. So let's keep an eye to him then, as Sam Osborne's lap has disappeared as well. This is Sutton going up to McLean's.
Didn't see the start of the lap, but he looked clean enough through the old hairpin. Just within track limits there. You can use the painted bit of curb, but not the green section. So the S's is the next bit he needs to absolutely nail.
He was on the boost, wasn't he, coming through Coppice? Darrell de Leon's lap that he's on has gone.
And his wipers on, interestingly.
Down towards the S's comes Sutton then, nobody around him to get in the way. Seemingly personal best, absolute best, and the rain is coming. So you've got to do it now. You can't have a second chance at this if the road is going to deteriorate. It might take a while for it to get fully wet and the tyres are warm, but it's certainly not going to improve in the short term.
But the weather looks really bad down there at the Melbourne hairpin, doesn't it? That looks like the worst part of the track from our cameras, the chicane down to the end of the lap. Wiper on again, so we'll have a look at this lap time. If this is slower, it could mean this is the quickest that we're going to see. The positions at the moment could be it. Let's see where Sutton comes across. He's not in the top 6 at the moment. He jumps to second, so the track's still delivering lap time.
And he's got 2 more minutes in the session, so he's got time for potentially 2 more laps. Rowbottom is still the fastest. Senna Proctor's most recent lap has disappeared. So Rowbottom, Sutton, Camish, Proctor, de Leon, Doble are the top 6 at the moment. This is Charles Rainford, who is on a flying lap, but at the moment does not have a lap time to his name. So we need to see where this is going to put him. Dan Camish's lap that he's on has just been taken off him, so Camish is going to remain third for the moment. The gap then between Rowbottom and Sutton, 0.4 of a second. They're the top 2.
At the moment, it's Mikey Doble, the man on the bubble at the moment. He's in at the moment, but Patterson, Osborne, Hamilton, Halstead and Rainford behind. Rainford perhaps the man that could deliver the time.
Yeah, the gap though Doble has over Patterson, he's 1.9 seconds. Sorry, he's 0.7 of a second. He's 1.9 away from the top time, but 0.7 is the margin. It's quite a gap, isn't it? Rainford gets himself up to 7th.
Not quite enough, but
no.
This is his last lap. I'm just wondering if there's too much rain out there now to deliver. The wipers are on almost permanently. I think the track may have just deteriorated.
And that lap that he did has been taken off him anyway, so he's got only this lap on which he can get a time. So it's full pressure now for Charles Rainford, pole position at Knock Hill, and he's going to have to dig deep here on an increasingly slippery racetrack as he comes now up towards Schwantz Curve. The lap that he's just done, disallowed for track limit offences. This is his only hope.
Yeah, a little bit of a snatch there has put him slightly offline for McLean's. Of course, the man he's fighting so hard for in the Jack Sears Trophy is his teammate Darrell de Leon. He is already through at the moment in 5th place.
And as far as the Goodyear Wingfoot Award is concerned, it's Tom Ingram that leads that. Right, the flag is imminent. 1 or 2 more just squeezing through to get another lap in. But the lap times are not improving now. They're all looking slower because of the change of conditions. Very, very few greens in sectors, and Rainford is down in the sectors on this lap, but he's just got to get a lap time to try and haul himself off the back of the grid.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to manage to do it. His teammate kindly getting out of the way at least, not holding him up.
He might not get in the top 6, but anything to get him ahead of Halstead and Hamilton and Osborne is going to be beneficial. He does not want to be on the back row, that's for sure.
No, that's right. He's still fighting for grid positions, even if they don't make the top 6.
Here he comes out of Goddard's then up towards the timing line. So Charles Rainford heads up towards the line. 11th he is at the moment in this part of the qualifying, and he ends up, as he goes across the line, 8th. So he misses out as his father Sean looks on, but at least he's not on the back row. So the places he's just gained are going to help him in terms of a grid position, but they don't help him to progress. This is Nick Hamilton, who is currently 10th, and I think that's where he's going to be.
Yeah, so at the moment it's, as the checkered flag is out, it's going to be, assuming there are no other changes, Rowbottom, Sutton, Camish, Proctor, de Leon and Doble that progress through to the next round of qualifying. And the rain on the windscreen, look at the rain on the windscreen. That is really starting to get quite aggressive in terms of keeping the slick tyres working, especially as there's a little gap now with no cars running on the circuit and the circuit getting a bit damper. It could be possible just initially to get a run on slicks in the next round. Certainly, though, I should think they'll try. And it's a bit of an advantage towards the BMWs, who don't have to cross their tyres over at the start of the next session. We'll just have to see how quickly the rest of the rain comes down. But it's really difficult to decide on what tyres they might go out on. So the car's still coming back into the pit lane. There's Jake Hill, current champion. He'll be talking to Craig Pawley, his engineer, about tyres and everything else. Maybe even some quick changes to the chassis before the next session.
And of course, the Group 1 drivers are going to face a circuit that will be slightly alien in the surface. If you've been in Group 2, although you've had to cope with those wetter conditions and the deteriorating track most recently, at least you know what to expect, don't you, when you go back out, because you've had more recent experience of it. So it's less of a shock for the drivers in Group 2 that progress compared to those in Group 1. So there is Jake Hill. He's getting ready to go back out into battle. Remember now, we have Ingram, Hill, Morgan, Lloyd, Chilton, Smiley, Rowbottom, Sutton, Camish, Proctor, De Leon and Doble as the drivers that are progressing. That's Charles Rainford's car going through the weight and ride height checks. Then it'll be released to the team. Of course, if they're not progressing through qualifying, then the technical team want to make sure the cars are as they should be. And then that car will be released back to the team at WSR, which is, of course, already getting ready to concentrate efforts on Darrell De Leon and Jake Hill, who have made it into Q2. Same principle, it's the top 6 we need after 10 minutes, but 12 drivers will do battle. And this is always a fascinating part of qualifying to see who is going to go through, because almost by definition, you've got some big names in this, and not all are going to progress. So let's have a look then at the order after Group 2 of Q1. Dan Rowbottom the fastest by 0.4 of a second over teammate Ash Sutton, and then Dan Camish third. So a good session for the Napa Racing UK Fords. Team Virtue Senna Proctor fourth, WSR's Darrell De Leon fifth, and Motor Parts Direct with Powermax Racing's Mikey Doble rounding out the top 6. Dexter Patterson seventh, he misses out, so does Charles Rainford, so does Sam Osborne. Nick Hamilton ending up 10th, and we lost Nick Halstead 11th as well. So there is Charles Rainford. He'll be frustrated for sure, partly because of the track limit offences, partly because of the weather. But I'm still interested to know what that pit stop was all about, because that certainly upset the game plan, didn't it, having the car in the pit lane. I think Louise is on her way down to WSR, so we might be able to get some more news in a moment. Drivers clamber out of cars, and the teams and drivers that we need for Q2 are on instruction going to be released down the pit lane. Right, there's Ash Sutton's car ready to go. Before we do, let's hear from Charles Rainford. Louise is with him.
I'm happy to report he came in with a smile on his face, but I'm guessing it's slightly gritted teeth. I mean, after the highs of Knock Hill, frustrating session for you.
Yeah, 100%. Went out, and then I said to Dan, my lock-up lights are both on whenever I broke, so there was some kind of glitch in the car's electronic system, which also meant I had no boost, so I had to box, and as soon as I came back out, obviously it started raining, so tried the best we could, but just wasn't to be this time. So we'll have a fun day tomorrow, I think.
Well, it's going to make the racing interesting tomorrow. Certainly race 1. No doubts though that you've got a good car underneath you to get yourself back up further up for races 2 and 3.
Yeah, 100%. It's really unfortunate because, say, we're really quick in FP1 and 2, and the car was feeling really solid. Like, as Dan said, like, all we need to do is repeat what we did in FP2 and we'll be right up there. So, yeah, I think it's one that slipped away from us from today, but it's no one's fault. It's just a glitch in electronics, and heartbreaking as it is, we'll just try and see what we can do tomorrow.
See you out there.
Thank you.
So Charles Rainford does indeed produce a smile, and he's been a feisty racer this year. He's going to be one to watch tomorrow, that is for certain. The weather, though, is still teasing the teams, isn't it, here?
It is. It's just spitting, isn't it? It's not really coming down. The track is, well, to the eye, it looks pretty dry, doesn't it? But I'm sure if you're a slick tyre on the back of a front-wheel drive car, you might have other ideas.
All right, the team's ready, and the fans trackside now bracing the elements. Some Napa fans there ready to cheer on their drivers, and you can see how blustery it has become as well, which in a sense ought to dry the track, the strength of the wind. Right, the green flag shown. We are in business then for Q2. Cars will make their way down the pit lane, and as we've been saying ever since this format of qualifying began, 10 minutes really does rattle through very rapidly indeed.
Everyone going out that I can see on slicks, trying to get a time in, because at the moment the track, until it really does get wet, if you can get any heat into these slicks, it will still be quicker on those than on a wet.
Wiper on for Adam Morgan, look, number 33 Hyundai, Daryl De Leon's BMW as well, and Dan Lloyd in the background as the cars come out of the pit lane, and Ash Sutton is pressing on to try and get the warmth into the tyres, and again the drivers would be well advised to get a banker lap in just in case.
Yeah, very much so, but you can't really deliver that lap time in a front-wheel drive car until you've transferred the tyres over, because the rear tyre temperatures are just too cold. You could stay out, I mean it is a possibility, but it's very hard to get temperature in the right rear tyre because there's so few left-hand bends, and that's the tyre you lean on crucially when you're going down the Craner curve. So it's a gamble to stay out on a front-wheel drive car. It just depends what you think the weather's going to do. If it's going to hold at the moment, come in and change your tyres over, but obviously that takes time and loses laps. But if you don't think it is, you're going to have to stay out and just hang on to it.
This is Adam Morgan's view, and he's coming out of Coppice then. He's got the BMWs of Jake Hill and Daryl De Leon behind him. Adam, by the look of it, he's trying to get some clear track space, whereas the other Hyundais are rather tripping over themselves at Team Virtue, with Tom Ingram, Tom Chilton, Senna Proctor all running together. What Adam Morgan was doing was slightly getting in the way of the BMWs, but they've now been released. This is Jake Hill's view. Adam Morgan ahead, and Jake, you could see, did not want to be behind a Hyundai. He wanted to be on his own, away from any traffic.
Well, he's pushing as hard as he can. He's in the rear-wheel drive car. He's just they're trying to push as hard as you can to get temperature in as quickly as possible, knowing they're not going to stay. I've just seen Ash Sutton go past, so he's stayed out. It's obviously too much of a gamble. Look, they're all staying out, so it's too much of a gamble to come in and cross the tyres, although Rowbottom has done it, so he'll lose time on track. The rest of them are just going to have to hang on to the car.
Right, this is going to be well worth watching, isn't it? This is Sutton then, coming downhill, up the curb, and now you're going to see a brave man at work.
Well, word in my ear tells me Sutton's actually on wet, so yes, he is. Look at the light in the tunnel and on the screen. He is indeed.
Now there's Dan Rowbottom in the pit lane, so you've got Sutton on wets, the others are on slicks. This is Jake Hill, as ahead of him is Tom Chilton's Hyundai, the Team Virtue car dancing out wide as he comes off the corner, and Jake Hill trying to find a way through, but bearing in mind we've only got 12 cars, they all went out as a line, and therefore pretty much everybody had traffic around them.
Yeah, well, it's I'm not sure whether Jake could be better off to give himself some room, but you don't want to back off and give up a lap, because you don't know if it's going to be wetter next time you come round, and it might be the best chance you've got.
Right, so Sutton's going to offer up the target time. Mikey Doble is looking pretty rapid in the first sector as well, but this is Jake Hill's view as he comes then past the old exhibition centre on the left. Ash Sutton is down at the Melbourne hairpin. 6.5 minutes are on the clock. Dan Rowbottom is about to leave the pit lane. Dan Lloyd came in as well, incidentally, in his Restart Racing Hyundai. Dan Lloyd third in the independence competition. Teammate Chris Smiley leads that. This is the Ash Sutton Ford coming up now then to the left-hander of Goddard's, and he's going to pit this lap. So more warmth in the tyres, but no lap time. He comes to the pits instead.
Well, that's odd, because he was on wet, so he decided not to deliver up a lap time, even though he was on the tyre. So the only option he could do, he wouldn't be crossing wets. You don't cross them over, so...
Does he think it's not wet enough, even though we'd still get a banker lap in, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Rowbottom has
put the time in.
Yeah, Rowbottom has gone out on wets, and so has Dan Lloyd, but it doesn't look that wet to the eye. However, Mikey Doble is the fastest, 1:40.981. We really need to see what those on wet tyres are going to do. So Rowbottom and Lloyd will be slightly ahead in sequence of Sutton in terms of a lap time. Where are the BMs? 4th De Leon and 5th Hill. There they are together on track.
Yeah, I mean, to the eye, it looks darker and wetter, doesn't it? So it looks to me like, and if 1 minute 40 is obviously a long way off the 33.5 that we were seeing in the dry.
So Rowbottom on wets has done an absolute best middle sector on an outlap. So when he comes across the line, he'll be starting a proper flyer, a push lap if you like, but that's going to be the interest to see. The lap that Rowbottom has just started will be the interesting one, because he's now the first driver on wets to attack a flying lap, and he's at the moment making his way down through the Craner curves. There are the BMWs coming towards the S's, and Jake Hill has just had a lap time taken off him. So Jake had done a lap, but it's disappeared from the system. Mikey Doble, therefore, is still at the top of the times.
So, of course, the longer you stay out, the more warmth you can get in the slick tyres. And the groups that went through second, a big oversteer there. It's a lot of traction loss there from Jake Hill's car coming off the hairpin.
Now, there's Rowbottom making the run up towards Coppice. He is in the traditional Napa Cataclean colours for the weekend. And this, remember, is a car on wets. Now, Sutton's gone on to slicks. So as he has gone in one direction, Rowbottom's gone the other. This is Mikey Doble's view. That shows you the rain. And Doble is the fastest on a 1:40.981. But Rowbottom is coming up towards the end of the lap. And this will show us, perhaps, whether or not wets or slicks is the way to go. Fascinating to see what Sutton has done. Another lap taken off Jake Hill. That's 2 in a row. Now Daryl De Leon has lost a lap as well. The target is at 1:40.9. Yeah, it's slower, but it would be given the conditions. And this is Rowbottom with 2 corners to go. Melbourne hairpin, first of all, tick. And he's on the power. He's up towards Goddard's. Ahead of him is Ash Sutton, who is now on slicks. He's made that change and has not gone faster in the middle sector of the lap. This is Rowbottom then. So is a car on wet. It's going to put itself to the top of the times. His middle sector now is a little bit slower. He comes up towards the line and he goes 8th fastest on wet tyres. It's a personal best lap time, but it's his only lap time. But it's still slick-shod cars, 1 to 7.
Yeah, and crucially, that time of Rowbottom's 4 seconds slower than Mikey Doble's gone. So if you can get some warmth in the slicks, they are the way to go. But remember, Sutton went out on wets, so he hasn't crossed the tyres. So he's down on everybody else in terms of tyre warmth. He's going to have to work really hard, but you're right, yeah, it is still slick tyres, but the last lap times are coming in at sort of 41, 42, 42. Still quicker than the wets by 2 seconds.
That's Dan Lloyd on wets, and he goes 10th. Sutton's last lap, by the way, it was an out lap, but it didn't count anyway because of track limit offences. So Hill and Sutton with no lap to their name. Rowbottom is out of that top 6 because at the moment the road is not as good for the wets as the slicks. And there he is, coming out then of the right of Coppice. Personal best in the first sector, so he is still pushing, and the lap is still being pieced together quite nicely for him. This is Rowbottom then, heading to the end of sector 2. Sector 2 is slower than he had done previously.
Yeah, if he didn't do the lap time straight away, I don't believe he'll go significantly quicker enough, as we saw Ash Sutton running wide into the entry to the S's. I don't believe the wet tyre cars are going to find enough pace to go quicker than the dry times already set.
So into the pit lane have just come, for example, Jake Hill and Daryl De Leon and Tom Ingram. Very frustrated Jake Hill, because with 2 minutes to go, I think that might well be him done now. It's going to be hard to do an outlap and a proper flyer. Adam Morgan's last lap has been disallowed for track limits. He's down to 9th. This is Rowbottom, who is 8th. Personal best in 1. Slower sector 2. Timing line beckons, and as he breaks the beam, he stays 8th fastest.
And a second slower than he's gone before. As I said, the wet tyres will not go any quicker. So the big question is, can Sutton get himself up into the top 6? That's the big question. Ingram is, of course, in. He's in 4th. So can Sutton do it?
At the moment, you've got Doble, De Leon, Smiley, Ingram, significantly, Proctor and Chilton. That puts the pressure on Sutton, doesn't it? If Ingram is in and Sutton's only 11th, A, he's going to miss the cut, B, he's going to be in midfield, and that means jeopardy when you get to Redgate on lap 1 of race 1. That is Sutton having a real fight to get the car around the old hairpin.
Yeah, because, of course, he didn't cross his tyres, so his rears are cold. This is the problem. I don't think he's going to be able to get enough heat in them to do it.
And I don't think he's going to get another lap out of the session either. So sector 1 is slower than it was. So the weather conditions really have given a varied qualifying, and we're not done yet, of course, with the final part still to come. So Sutton is on the run up towards Coppice, but the frustration inside that Ford Focus is pretty much audible, isn't it?
Yeah, the interesting thing, though, if he completes this lap, it will tell us whether they need to be on wets or slicks for the final part.
And a very angry Jake Hill, knowing that he hasn't got a lap time, and he is going to be therefore not only out of Q3, but he's going to be 12th on the grid. Now Sutton at the moment is 11th on the grid, and he's, even if he can't get into the top 6, he wants, like Rainford did in Q1, to try to buy a few more places and get as far forward as he can.
Yeah, I hope he finishes the lap to give us a lap time. He may abort, but as you say, it's important for the grid that he tries to finish as high as he can, but it clearly has changed from slicks to wets now, but that isn't going to be quick enough to beat the times we saw before. Let's see what he completes. He's got a wide line in to get a good exit, but he's coming in the pits. He's aborted. So there we go. I think we'll see the next session completed on wets, folks.
Right, checkered flag is out and pretty much everybody into the pits. So Dan Camish making his run up through the Ride of Coppice. And just going back to Jake Hill's on board, you could tell how angry he was. Apologies for any colourful language that you may have overheard. So Jake, understandably, very frustrated indeed. No lap time. Some of it was down to the weather. He will blame that, but also he did lose 2 laps for track limit offences, so some of it's on him. Yeah, and he was stuck behind the Team Hyundai car, the Team Virtue cars for a little while, wasn't he? But a difficult session with such a short amount of track time and with the conditions changing. But hats off to Mikey Doble. He did it absolutely right. It was the slick tyre cars that went quickest, even though they were some sort of 7 seconds slower than they went in the previous session. Now, Daryl De Leon did go out on a wet tyre, possibly by way of a test for Q3, because he was already in. There was no other reason to go and do an outlap right at the very end, other than just to go and see what the conditions were like, because he was in 1.3 seconds away from Doble, but that might be quite clever usage of the time. Yeah, very smart if that's why they did it, just to get a feel, but I'm pretty sure now because normally a wet tyre is about 10 seconds a lap slower, and bearing in mind that the slick times that were being done were only 7 seconds quicker, they weren't going to be quicker on wets, but I think that time has gone away on slicks now, so it might well be that we're into the wet tyre window, and that was good research by Darrell De Leon and West Surrey Racing. We'll see who comes out on what tyres for the final 6 shootout. So the 6 are going to be Mikey Doble, who therefore makes it through into Q3 for the 5th time this year. Daryl De Leon for the 2nd time, and Chris Smiley is going to get through as well as his 2nd appearance in Q3. Tom Ingram will go through. That's 8 out of 8 for him. Senna Proctor will go through, a 3rd appearance in Q3, and then Tom Chilton, only his 2nd appearance in Q3 of the season. Dan Camish misses out, Dan Rowbottom misses out, Adam Morgan goes, Dan Lloyd disappears, Ash Sutton and Jake Hill, 2 big names dumped out of qualifying as well. And I think wherever Louise goes at the end of that part of qualifying, she's going to find frustrated drivers. She's going to have to work her magic here to get some smiley drivers. Dan Rowbottom is going to be decidedly nonplussed, fastest in his group in the dry, and then missing out in the wet. One thing's for sure, we're going to have an interesting grid, aren't we? Absolutely, yeah. So, there you've got Ash Sutton's car at the front as you look down the pit lane. The team's now deciding what to do for tyres for the final 10 minutes. Well, looking out of my window, I can see the brollies up amongst the crowd. I can actually see the rain falling. Brollies are up in the pit lane. I think the tyre choice is going to be made for everybody now, so it'll going to be a wet shootout, which means the boost isn't quite so relevant. But of those in the final 6, Chilton has 13 seconds. Proctor, Smiley, De Leon, Doble, all with 15, the maximum. And poor old Tom Ingram just with 1 second. But this will suit him because it makes less difference in the wet, so it'll suit him. And the only driver to have had any experience on that wet tyre, Daryl De Leon, even if it was only 1 lap at the very end. So he has just got a little bit of knowledge and feel for what it is going to be like out on a wet road. Right, let's go to the Grumpy Club. Dan Rowbottom, victim 1, Louise.
Yeah, absolutely. Ash has already headed off into the truck, so no chance to grab a word with him. But to be honest, the questions would be pretty much the same. I mean, you rolled the dice, but it just didn't work for you, did it?
No, I mean, you know, I was watching Ash on the outlap who'd put wets on. We were on slicks, and through the sector 3, he just drove away, and I was like, well, it's now or never. We'll go with the wet tyre. And we just missed the window then because we didn't have enough temperature when the wet was good, and then when it was good, the tyre had fell over. So, you know, disappointing not to be in the quick 6, but you roll the dice and that's what you get.
He was obviously having the same conversation, but from the opposite perspective with his engineer, because you've kind of gone opposite ways, and it hasn't worked for either of you, has it?
No, I think both of us missed the window. You know, if I had stayed on the slicks, I think we could have got a lap time in that would have put us through. But equally, the rain kept coming, and it was such an, you know, we were 30 seconds away from the right call, both of us, and that's BTCC.
Ain't it just? The rain is properly coming down now, so it'll be interesting to see what everybody can manage in this final quick six session.
And we notice you're sheltering in the garage as well, Louise. Don't blame you. Right, green flag is waved, and we are back in business then. So we started then with the 22 going into qualifying. We're down to the final quick six. Where's your money going?
Ingram.
Okay. There he is. Down the pit lane he comes. He's up against Mikey Doble, Daryl De Leon, Chris Smiley, Senna Proctor and Tom Chilton. Good session for Team Virtue. Lots of cars in there.
Yeah, very good session for them. And a great session for PowerMax as well to get one of the Coopers through into this final six.
Yeah, because it's only the second event at which they've run the cars. Mikey Doble, as he was saying up at Knock Hill, having to adapt from sitting on one side of a race car to another. And Mikey's still perhaps one of the great underrated talents in the British Touring Car Championship. He's a fairly quiet bloke, doesn't really shout and scream about his ability too much, but you put him inside a car and he delivers time and time again. Yeah,
works, of course, in the family motorcycle business, Doble Motorcycles, and also annoyingly for me as a golfer, an amateur hacker golfer, he's virtually a scratch player at golf as well. So he's a man of many talents.
So let's see whether he's going to be able to take a second career pole position. Remember, Silverstone 2 years ago he did it, and now makes that run up through Schwantz Curve. So the Motor Parts Direct with PowerMax Racing Cupra. This would be quite a fairy tale story, wouldn't it, after everything that they've been through in the last month or so. PowerMax Racing, and as you made the point early on, still working so hard to refine, to engineer these cars. This chassis, the one that you saw Max Hall and then Stephen Jelly in at the start of the season. Stephen Jelly, by the way, just to make the point, racing in Carrera Cup GB this weekend. One Motorsport having announced it's going to sit out the rest of the season, and we hope to see the team back next year and continue to wish team principal Steve Dudman well after his recent illness. There's Doble then, out of the S's. That's Daryl De Leon, and he's coming down to the Melbourne hairpin with 8 minutes to go. And just to confirm, everybody out on wet tyres. As you see from the graphic, the little, it's gone now, but the little wet insignia for the tyre choice. And across the line comes Senna Proctor to start the lap. Not crossing tyres with the wets. The wets being very soft, they heat up very quickly. You can still cross the tyres if you really want that added security of the rears working, but in fact they're so soft they warm up quickly, and drivers are usually pretty confident to just lean on them straight away. As you see, Proctor leaning on that right rear a little bit gingerly as he comes through the left-hander at Craners. And he'll build up probably over the next couple of laps while the tyres are absolutely at their peak. The edges on the grooves nice and sharp to cut into the ground. Of course, Senna Proctor came into the championship late. He was only ever planning to do a part season. It was brought forward slightly because of budgetary dramas for Michael Crease. But what that has always meant is that by not featuring in the championship, he's always come into qualifying with bagfuls of boost. Yeah, it does help, doesn't it? But he's been right on the money in races as well. Taking some slightly different lines, taking the wet lines quite often round the outside, particularly at McLean's. You saw him taking a middle of the road to the outside where there's a little bit of extra grip, the track not quite as polished and smooth and slippery as it is on the racing line. Through the chicane, you've got no choice but to follow the racing line because it's the line of least resistance in terms of curvature. So there is Chilton then coming down towards the Melbourne hairpin. He's done good sectors early on, but there's not very much to compare it against yet. It's only as the session really unwinds that you start to see proper lap times, and if they're on wet, they'll stay out there. They don't need to worry about crossing particularly. You've got Daryl De Leon in the background, and here comes Tom Chilton, who was a winner at Donington on the short circuit, remember, earlier on in the season. It all looks rather nervous, doesn't it? All a bit tiptoey. Yeah, just feeling out the grip. He'll fancy his chances here with the amount of boost he's got, and he loves the car being on the edge anyway. He'll fancy his chances, I'm sure, of a pole. Right, there's Mikey Doble in the background. So Chilton does a 1:43.129. Daryl De Leon goes third. In fact, Mikey Doble splits him and Chilton to be second. 1:43.482. That's Ingram who goes by, and he's up to second now. 3 tenths down on Chilton.
Yeah, and I bet you there are less track limit infringements now, although they're in the wet because they're trying to stay off the exit curbs for maximum traction. The painted curbs could be a bit slippery, but yeah, that's a little bit quicker than we saw the quickest wet time in the last session. Even though it's a bit damper, now they're all on wets and brand new ones. They're just getting good grip.
So Tom Ingram out of the old hairpin in the Team Virtue Hyundai. Virtue having announced an extension of the sponsorship deal, which is good for the championship. Demolished the floppy marker, didn't he, going out of the old hairpin. Proof of how much Ingram is charging here. Proctor and Chilton together, and Chilton trying to find a way through, which he does. Proctor lets him go and slots in behind.
Yeah, so no reason for Proctor to particularly let his teammate through unless he's going to take out the bollard on the left there. That's a definite short circuit, isn't it? But the track limits don't actually apply at that corner. They apply at only the corners that they're being monitored at.
Right, so there's no track limit there?
There's no track limit at all. The blue book doesn't apply there, actually.
Right, okay.
No.
Now, this is Tom Chilton at the end of the lap with Senna Proctor behind him. 4 minutes of the session to go, only 4 more minutes of opportunity for Tim to rant about track limits as well. Over the timing line goes Chilton, and that lap is slightly slower, in fact.
Yeah, because they've just taken the track isn't soaking wet, so in fact the tyres have a very small peak operating window when they're brand new, because they'll actually overheat a little bit straight away. So that first lap or the second is when it's going to be the quickest. Chilton comes across the line. He's slower as well by 0.4 than his previous lap. So it may well be that we don't see any significant improvements now.
That is Chris Smiley. So for a man that we thought at one point had been dumped out of Q1, he's got into Q3. So he owes a few drivers a beer, doesn't he, because of their track limit zealotry, and therefore he managed to progress into Q2 and then into this final part of qualifying. Chilton, Ingram, Doble, Smiley, De Leon, Proctor is the order with 3 minutes and change on the clock.
Mark Proctor, Senna's dad, watching on, biting his lip. He's very nervous as a father, isn't it? So much invested from the family in this comeback drive for Senna Proctor. He hasn't let them down either. He's been really electric ever since he sat in that car, and hopefully it'll get him a drive for next year.
Yeah, he's got to find a second or so to get into the mix in this final part of qualifying, as there is Proctor now down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Daryl De Leon is behind him on the track, but directly ahead of him in the times. And on this lap, Proctor good in Sector 1, not so good in Sector 2.
Yeah, and Sector 3, where the front-wheel drive car really needs those wet front tyres to be biting into the track, is probably where he's going to lose time as well, because they'll have been past their best, the wet tyres now. They'll have overheated, lost their sharp cutting edges. There's no more rain falling, and not surprisingly, he doesn't improve. In fact, that lap is another 0.3 slower than his best.
And it was disallowed anyway because of track limit offences, so didn't work in any sense, did it? That is Mikey Doble who goes through, and Doble did not improve even though he had a couple of good sectors. The middle one was down and the lap time was down, but yeah, I think you're right, the track has got slower.
The track's got slower because it's not raining anymore and the tyres are overheating, but there's no way, even if you had time, that you'd put slicks on now, so it's just too late. Potentially the BMWs could still go a little bit quicker, purely because they're a bit lighter on their tyres, but and De Leon is definitely pushing on. He's 5th at the moment on the grid, so still a great starting position for him, but others have had enough. Back on the weighbridge.
And Tom Ingram has just had a lap taken off him, his 4th lap of the session. So Chilton to Ingram, 0.3 of a second. That is Tom Chilton, who always seems to go well around Donington, and he's looking here for an 11th career pole. And what have we got left in the session? Just over a minute or so as you look at Mikey Doble. So drivers staying out there. Doble improving in the first sector.
Yeah, the second sector and the third are where the tyres really fall back, but let's just see what De Leon can do, and Doble, but I don't see them improving, if I'm really honest. Oh, Doble's gone straight on, outbraked himself, just going to go through the gravel there, keeps it rolling, back onto the tarmac, and rejoins. So just a temporary yellow flag there. Don't think it will have affected anyone too much. Let's see what De Leon does as he comes across the line, and he's slower again.
Senna Proctor did improve, but he stays 6th in the time, so he did a 45.3, which is about a 2.5 seconds down on Tom Chilton. And already to the pit lane has come Tom Ingram going through those technical checks.
That's Tom Chilton's car. Tom Ingram's has already gone through. We assume it's passed, but I don't think we're going to see any changes in the top 6. So it looks like Chilton for the pole tomorrow. Just a few seconds to go before the flag, but Chilton on pole from Ingram, Doble, Smiley, De Leon and Proctor.
Right, we have got improved sectors coming out of Chris Smiley and Senna Proctor. So this is Proctor heading out of Coppice. Chris Smiley was down on his previous lap, but he did improve in the first sector of the lap that he's on. So let's see whether that's going to, if not change the top of the times, just shuffle the order behind. This is Proctor then down towards the S's.
He's still pushing on anyway. His last lap was a 45.3, which was his quickest, as we said, but still slowest of the group.
So Tom Chilton, last on pole, Knock Hill, 2011. And could well be on pole, should be on pole here. So it's been quite a gap between pole positions, but it'll be a very special one for him after such a long wait. It takes a point away from his teammate, of course. However, this is Senna Proctor coming up towards the line. If he can't take pole, can he at least improve on 6th on the grid? And the answer is no, he stays there. This is Daryl De Leon trying to improve from 5th, and in the wet, the BMW not a happy car necessarily, so he stays where he is. And Chris Smiley is on his way into the last corner. Smiley did do a personal best in both sectors 1 and 2 of this lap. So Smiley has been trying as hard as he possibly can up towards the timing line. Let's get him across the line. He chases Doble, who's going to end up 3rd, and Chris Smiley goes through and he ends up 4th. His last sector was down.
Yeah, so the positions staying as they were, despite actually Proctor and Smiley setting their personal quickest laps on that last lap. They stayed in the same position. So congrats to Tom Chilton.
Well, indeed, 11th career pole, and that last pole position, as I say, coming from Knock Hill in 2011. So a fair effort. Tom Chilton fastest by 0.353 of a second from Tom Ingram. Mikey Doble 3rd, Chris Smiley 4th, Daryl De Leon 5th, and Senna Proctor 6th. That, in terms of the grid, will put Ingram onto the front row, and of course a long way clear of championship rival Ash Sutton. So let's head to the pit lane. So from 2011 to 2025, quite a gap between pole positions for him, Louise. I mean, what's he been up to?
Well, do you know what the first thing Tom just said to me was?
Louise, by any chance do you know when my last pole position was in the British Touring Car Championship? And she told me the answer, and the answer was too long ago. It was 2011 at Knock Hill in the British Touring Cars, so it's nice to finally get another one. And I'll tell you what, they were tricky conditions, and I had to use all my experience to keep it on the black stuff. So this, I'm actually going to keep, even though it's just a water bottle, because it says pole, I'm keeping it.
Well, better than that, you get this as well, which you didn't get in 2011. You get the Wingfoot Award.
Do you know I see these all the time in my truck?
Now
Because
you know
this
what
young
they're
man
for.
behind me gets them all the time, and now I finally got one. Yeah, it feels good.
Congratulations,
Thank
Jap.
you
You're
very
good, your Wingfoot Award, so well done for that. As you say, it was all about just getting everything right at the right time.
Yeah.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah, you have to, in those cases, you have to feel the tyre, feel the grip, and stay off the white lines. They're slippery as you like, and just not make mistakes. You just can't overdrive in those situations, and I just was so happy with that lap.
Well, despite the fact that you've taken that pole position point off him, which he would have liked for his championship aspirations, nice to see Tom being one of the first people to come up and congratulate you. T'other Tom.
Yeah, we are best mates, and we're teammates, and we work very well as a team, and it's really nice to see Tom next to me here. We have been competitive all weekend, so regardless of the weather, we did both deserve this. So yeah, well done, Tom. Fantastic, mate.
Come on and join us, T'other Tom.
Well done, mate. Cheers, mate.
A lot of love here. I was just saying, nice to see you come up and congratulate him, even though he's taken a point off you. You'd have liked that, wouldn't you?
But if anyone's going to, I'd rather Tom do it. Yeah, really pleased. Obviously, Tom's been quick this year, but just hasn't had the luck or whatever. It hasn't quite gone in his favour. So it's really nice to see. And as Team Virtue, you can't really ask for anything better than a 1-2 lockout. So it's a really good place for the both of us to start tomorrow. at a circuit that has been fairly good to us over the last few years as well. So lovely place to be.
I'm imagining there's going to be a little bit of a discussion about team tactics in the truck ahead of race 1 tomorrow.
I mean, there always is. It doesn't matter if it's the first round, the last round, whatever goes on. It's in everyone's interest we finish as strongly as possible for Tom. It's in everyone's interest we finish as strongly as possible for Tom. So, you know, we both want a good result, obviously. But obviously, the big picture is we need good points for team virtue. We both need to stay safe. We both need to stay out of trouble. I would like to think we can just hopefully lock arms, head down, and see if we can't go from there. We're quick in the dry. We're obviously fairly fast in the wet as well, so it's a lovely place to be.
Dry conditions, I think, predicted for tomorrow, but you know, one of the things that I think has been key, maybe not in terms of, well, yes, it was in your result as well, but thinking about the championship, obviously Ash is starting quite a way down from you. It was about getting your tactics right today, wasn't it? Being out on the right tyre at the right time. Was that for you guys an easy decision?
I think we had to be minimal risk, to be honest with you. We just had to go this side of the line, where you maybe could have said, would you have gambled a lap early to go on a slick tyre there? I came in a lap early to go onto a slick tyre just to see if we could generate a lap time out of it, but obviously not quite. Red light, yeah, whatever. But yeah, you know, nice to think that come rain or shine, we're in a nice place. The car's feeling really, really racy. Feels good. It's a nice place to be. But as you said, we had to be minimal risk in that session. We had to sort of be thinking about stay on the right tyre at the right time. Be on the tyre that the circuit is correct for. Don't try and almost second guess it. So I think we played a blinder there. I think really do.
Fantastic, well done. Well, we're just waiting for Mikey Doble to come down and join us here, but I thought I might just walk in and have a quick word with Senna Proctor, who's looking. What's that? That was a bit of a darn. I was hoping for more from that, was it? Expression I just saw on your face.
Yeah, you know, it was wet out there and I was driving around on the wet lines and Tom Chilton was behind me and taking time out of me, so I let him go, tried to follow him, tried to follow his lines because obviously he was very fast, and he just, was pulling away on the dry lines, but then I think the times came early in the session, so by the time I'd let him go and tried to tag back on, it was too late. So disappointed, bit of a rookie mistake from me, but just one of the things, you just don't know the grip level, and you know, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I felt fast in the greasy conditions in Q2 and thought I had it all sussed out, but obviously not.
But the three of you up in the top 6 though, I mean, you've got a great car, so there's a lot that you can do from your starting position tomorrow.
Yeah, the car's great, you know, we think it's going to be dry tomorrow. We're really good in the dry this morning, so yeah, looking forward to it. It should be in a good place, you know, not, you know, we'll work out the tyre strategy tonight and go from there. Great
stuff. Okay, right, let's dive in and have a word. He's still in the car at the moment. I would imagine taking a bit of a breath and taking this moment in, because actually whilst we wait for Mikey to get out, let's just go over and have a quick word with Adam Weaver, the team boss. You're looking slightly confused. No, okay. Sorry, a little bit of confusion going on down here at the moment. So we'll dive in and talk to Mikey, who, you know, we talked with the team last time out at Knockhill about the awful things that they've been going through in the last couple of weeks. So even just to get on the car on the grid for Knockhill was quite something. But Mikey, could you ever imagine that a car that you sat in for the first time on Friday of Knockhill, you'd be way up here in the top 6 in qualifying? No, that look on your face is like, whoa.
I didn't think we were going to be in the top 6 of qualifying after FP2, let alone Knockhill. Wow, unbelievable. Just lost for words, really. I mean, to get that P3 to equal our best qualifying of the year in a car we still don't really know, and we're getting to grips too with the team at the moment. It's just, it's unbelievable, mega job.
We kind of got a hint that you're still learning, a couple of little off-track excursions there.
I'm just testing the limits. I already had my banker lap time in, so I thought we may as well try and push for a pole when everyone else was going quicker. But yeah, just mega happy, and you know, everyone at the team has done such a great job to learn the car and, you know, prepare it and try and get us somewhat competitive for this weekend. So see what we can do tomorrow.
Where do you feel you are with the car in terms of percentage-wise? How much on top of it are you? How much are you able to get out of it? Are you at 80, 90, 60?
Honestly, I think we're nowhere near it yet. I mean, I think we're miles away from where we could be. You know, that session there kind of, whatever happened, we just played a bit of a blinder and got the conditions right. But you know, I think there's still a lot of work to be done on the dry pace, but now clean air tomorrow, try and get away with the leaders. Who knows, maybe we could cause a bit of an upset.
Fantastic. I'm really pleased for you. I'll let you go now because it's pouring down with rain, but what a result. Back to you guys.
Louise, thanks. It's the highest a Cupra has ever been in a qualifying session, you might like to tell Mikey. So he set some history there by giving a Cupra third on the grid, the best ever for the brand. Fascinating session, wasn't it?
Yeah, and ironically, of course, as I said in commentary, Mikey Doe was third on the grid last year, so he's making a habit of that at this circuit. But yeah, it's just taking advantage of the conditions. But the key for me, takeaway from Mikey Doble there, is that he was able to go out on the wet and hit it straight away, because you had to deliver that lap. We all saw the laps were all done on the first and second lap, and after that the wets overheated and went off.
I'm slightly worried though as to why we had technical delegate Sam Riches in the proximity of Adam Weaver and Adam not wanting to talk, and that bothers me a bit.
Yeah, I suspect there may have been an issue on the flat patch, either with ride height or weight. I certainly hope not, for their sake, but provisionally this looks like it's going to be your grid. But yes, you're right.
Yeah, so the story may not end here, we will see. However, for now, we can say Tom Chilton is on pole position, the 11th of his career and the first since 2011. Tom Ingram is second, ahead of Mikey Doble, Chris Smiley, and then Darrell de Leon fifth. It's Senna Proctor sixth, ahead of Dan Camish, Dan Rowbottom, Adam Morgan, and Dan Lloyd to round out the top 10. 11th, Ash Sutton, ahead of Jake Hill, then Gordon Shedden and Dexter Patterson, Aaron Taylor-Smith 15th. Charles Rainford's going to go from 16th, ahead of Aidan Moffat, then Sam Osborne and Josh Cook, with Nick Hamilton 20th. 21st, Max Buxton, and Nick Halstead is going to round out the grid. So that, very provisionally, is how it is going to line up. But as I say, there is still this question mark over what's happening around Power Max. We've seen in the past, haven't we, a car set up for the dry, not therefore coping with the differences that the wet will
The circumference
operate.
of the tyre and the wear on the tyre, which is much greater than the slick. So, yes, we'll see what happens.
Indeed so. As I say, the story might not yet be done. However, tomorrow we can look forward to a great day of racing here at Donington. We are going to be on air from 10:45 on ITV4. Action coming from not only the British Touring Car Championship, Carrera Cup GB, we've also got the Minis and we've got Formula 4. So a lot to look forward to, hopefully in the dry. But for now, from Louise Goodman, Tim Harvey and David Addison from Damn Donington, it's goodbye.